Welcome to this episode of Let's Chat. I'm your host, Chris Revel, coming from the Cat Cave in Warwick, Rhode Island today, recording this in my dining room. Thank you so much for checking out the show. We're so excited. This might be, maybe you're a new listener, maybe you're a long-time listener. Thanks for coming by. I was just looking at some stuff and realizing that we will be hitting our 7-year anniversary in August, so we're planning a big anniversary bash. We're getting to work on that right now. What a great episode today. We got Christian and we've got Heath. Christian started the Jersey Interchange, a series that features over 50 New Jersey musical artists reimagining each other's songs over 20 years. You know, these are 20 years later. This is insane. I mean, the New Jersey scene has birthed some of the biggest names in music, from My Chemical Romance, the Gaslight Anthem, who's been on the Benny's been on this show, Saves the Day, Cobra Starship, Thursday, Senses Fail. Oh, fun fact, this episode also has Heath. Heath played in Midtown and Senses Fail. I can't thank Christian enough for reaching out and setting this up for me with us. For us, this is insane. I'm a fanat. I was following the Jersey Interchange on Instagram and all the tracks. I thought they were great. And then when we started getting in touch, I get this email of the press release and seeing some of the people they've had on there. It's so insane to see. Not only do I love a lot of these bands, some of these are people who are A, past guests, and B, friends of mine, or friends at that time, who are part of this. John Tumolo and Agim Kalaku are going to be doing a cover of called Pink by Mohawk Barbie, and those are friends of mine, people I actually know. Paulson, who I used to be buddies with, they're going to be doing, Alex is doing a cover with Mikey Erg of Adam and His Package. Logan Lafayette's doing a cover of Outside Charming, another band I love. There's going to be a Saves the Day cover coming up with Jeremy from Bigwig, Rob from Red Hymns. You know what? You got to look at this list. It's just fucking insane. And the first one we'll hopefully post it at the end of the episode. Heath does a cover of Bigwig's Flavor Ice. I fucking love Bigwig. I love New Jersey pop punk. I love Senses Fail. I love Midtown. I love everything about this thing. So this is insane. I got to talk to Christian, who could not be cooler and more nice, and turned out to have some connections. And he worked at Fuse and part of that world on the video editing side. So fascinating. Then we get to fucking have Heath on here as well together. Talk to both of them together. Heath played in Midtown. I fucking love Midtown. Heath plays in Senses Fail, and he played on the Senses Fail's albums that I like, my two favorite, I think, to be honest. And Senses Fail is a band that means a lot. I really like them. Heath, I really like them. Both producers Will and Mike fucking love Senses Fail. It was one of our first conversations. I know we've been talking about trying to get Buddy on for a while. So this is really cool. I had this memory that I wanted to share with everyone. I remember being in high school, probably 11th or 12th grade. We went on a field trip to the Providence Place Mall for some reason, and they had a Hot Topic, which in Connecticut at that time we didn't have. It was such a big deal for me. I bought a album called Punk Chunks 2, and it had Midtown's A Faulty Foundation demo on there, and that is when I first learned about Midtown. They're also in this great documentary that I think I still have the physical copy. Heath, if you hear this, I'm going to try to send it to you, called Bastards of the Young, that we talk about on this podcast as well. And it's crazy. And then it's not even that. Just getting to talk to someone who's in Bigwig was a band that meant so much to me. And then, Gabe would go on to do Cobra Starship. That was the song for Snakes on a Plane. Heath played in Senses Fail, and he played on a couple of their better, I think, my favorite albums of theirs, Still Searching, and I think Can't Be Saved. Fucking priceless. So this was such a wonderful episode. Thank you so much for checking it out. Make sure you check us out online at Let's Chat Podcast and all the things, letschatpodcast.net. This show isn't an exclusively 90s punk, emo, ska scene guest, but God, do we have a ton of them, and we love doing it, so this is really fun. We just had a few episodes. If you're new to the show, if you want to dig back 2 or 3 deep, you could listen to Pete from Streetlight Manifesto or Benny from the Gaslight Anthem. We make a Spotify playlist where we list all of our punk rock themed episodes, so if you're don't want to dig through everything, we have episodes with Matt Pryor from the Ghetto Kids, or Nathan from Boy Sets Fire, or Jeff from Orchid, or Matt Sancom, the founder of Hard Times. We've got some good shit on there that is really in this punk world that I grew up in and love so much, and so happy to talk about. Another little piece of housekeeping I wanted to make sure I shout out to. Big thanks thank you to Gina for the photo shoot. We'll be sharing those pictures very recently. I don't want to butcher your last name, but we'll link her stuff everywhere. She was a great photographer. Thank you so much. Even if I was a little stiff, you made those photos look beautiful. And a really big announcement, I will be moderating my very first panel at the What Cheer Writers Club. This is virtual. It is free. It will be on July 18th at 1 p.m. You can just register online on your Eventbrite. We'll make sure we link everything online. It's called Leveling Up, Grow and Monetize Your Podcast. And guess who we got as guests to come onto this show? Holy shit! We've got Denver of the Dig, Mary and Blake Larson of the Mary Blake Media, and the host of, and we have, and one of the, Christina, host of the Providence podcast, Spark Up Podcast, and the big names we got, Jamie Loftus and Caitlin Durante of the Bechdel Cast, who are actually past guests of this show. So I actually had this idea, and this is something I had pitched to Jody at What Cheer, and her and I have been working really hard on this, and so it's happening, and I'm really excited, and I'm hoping for it to lead to more bigger things and all that stuff we're going to leave out. So thank you so much to the fine folks at the What's Your Writers Club for and Jody for your tireless amount of help for putting this together. I'm so excited. And a huge thanks to all the producers of Let's Chat. We've got Will Forcer, Brianna Benjamin, Mike Schwartz, and Christopher Ball. Thank you for all that you do. Anyway, let's get to it.
Through my books, down the well. Said goodbye to a few, some I didn't tell. Couldn't have seen 21,000 miles, but I got there. Smiles and style, across the royal bound fuselage. Heights down drives, bloom in the night. Through Windsor windows and Princeton woods, saw Oshkosh's friends, so together we stood.
How do you guys know each other?
I guess through the scene. I mean, Heath and I met Heath when he was in Nowhere Fast, which I don't know if, Heath, was that your first band, or was that like, I don't know how many bands you were in before Midtown?
I was in one band before Nowhere Fast. We played one show, and that was it. And then I was recruited into Nowhere Fast, where I stayed. I think I was only in Nowhere Fast for like 2 or 3 months before the band broke up. It's pretty brief.
Huh. I didn't even know that. I thought you were in there for longer.
Oh, that's awesome. What part of Jersey are you guys both from?
I'm from South Orange, New Jersey, which is like northern. And then, I don't know, Heath was from all over.
Yeah, I was from all over. I grew up in Rockland County, New York. Then I moved to Bergenfield, New Jersey. And then when I met Chris, I was in Somerville for a very long time. And now I live in Bergen County in Westwood.
Yeah, my wife is from Bloomfield.
Okay.
My wife grew up in Bloomfield. No attachment to this world of music at all. So, and of course, like the only person who's from Bloomfield and grew up in, excuse me, and didn't watch The Sopranos. So,
right.
Even they filmed it in her last scene. So Christian, tell us about how did this whole Jersey Interchange project happen? Like I know you're doing it for a good cause and everything, but you got some really cool people involved.
Yeah, no, it really honestly started, you know, I was never really in a band per se. I was in a band for like 6 months. We were a really bad hardcore band. We played one show, and ironically our name was Never Again. So we played that one show and then never again played after that. But no, I kind of, I guess I was in behind the scenes in the scene back in the day. I ran a little booking agency. I did shows, and that's how I kind of, you know, gave my contribution to the scene in a way. And then, you know, being an adult kind of happened, and I went back to college, got my degree, and now I'm a video editor. So, but this really happened because after about 20 years of really not playing the guitar, I picked it up, and then of course quarantine hit, and I had really nothing else to do. So I decided to you know, try and record some stuff, and started recording some old Joystick songs, which was this band from Basking Ridge, New Jersey, and Heath and I know them too. And then it really kind of coalesced just from me not having a good singing voice. So I recorded all of the music, and then asked my friend Dave Flores from Taxi Cab Samurais if he would want to put his voice on it. And then from there, I just kind of got the idea, well, what if I like branched out to all the people I know from the scene and see if they wanted to, be a part of this. And it kind of turned into just like this sprawling web of friends and new friends too. There were some people that I didn't even know back when all this music was going on, and just kind of reached out, and now we've become like, friends, I would say. So it's a huge collaboration that has just really like surpassed anything I expected it to be. And Heath, actually, I owe a lot to Heath, because he for the most part, he gave it legitimacy. Everybody was like, oh, you have Heath? Okay, I'll do it. So he definitely helped out a lot. And once you hear his song, and he's actually doing a few songs, we'll talk about that, I guess. But
yeah, I've been listening to your Bigwig cover like on repeat.
Yeah,
awesome.
Heath really knocked it out of the park on that one.
Christian, haven't played much guitar in the past like 10 years, so it was fun being given a task and being able to take it on. And I mean, I got to do 3 guitar tracks, and
did each artist, like, do you bring the band like to pick the tracks? Like, hey, did you reach out to Heath like, hey, what song do you want to do? Or do you like did you pick the Bigwig Flavor Ice and then like, hey, Heath, you want to do this? Like, what was your process of that? Or just kind of like, who wants to do what?
Yeah, I mean, most of it was like me picking a song just that I wanted to record, and then figuring out who I thought would sound best on it, really.
Yeah.
And with Heath, though, like I told him, I was like, I know my limitations, so as you make it as sonically sound as possible. So I just let him run with it, and he reprogrammed the drums, did all the guitars, the bass, and sang it. And I was just like, dude, you made this so much better than I ever could. So, and that's like, like I said, I know my limitations. I, played in a band for 6 months. Heath has been on like arena stages, so I have no problem with him, doing all the stuff.
Well, it was funny when I was saying, like, my wife is like just didn't grow up in our music scene. It's like not her thing. And I was telling her about this, and I was like, you're trying to like find reference points, and I was like, Heath was in a band called Midtown, and she like stared at me. I was like, they did the Real World soundtrack. She's like, oh, or was it Real World or the Real World Road Rules Challenge? I forgot which one the Midtown did, and it was like that motion. Like, oh wow, and like. I'm sure if you maybe not, it's funny how much you kind of forget how big the scene got to like connect to people that was beyond just like I guess My Chemical Romance would be the band. I'd be like, my mom and dad know who they are, but
right,
they wouldn't any other way, So it's just kind of funny to think, like, oh yeah, I forgot what the scene had such a reach.
It really did blow up, and I don't know really why, but I mean. In one respect, and maybe he has more, thoughts about this, but I think drive-thru was a big driver of that. Drive-thru Records.
Oh yeah.
And and then you had your Vagrant and I guess Victory Records, but those 3 labels I think probably helped the scene, especially from New Jersey. A lot of New Jersey bands got plucked and then, got really big from that.
Did you get? Well, actually, Heath, I think you might actually be in it. Were you in have you ever seen the documentary Bastards of the Young?
Yeah, I was in that. That was filmed in, I think, like 2003, 2004. I'd like to see that documentary again. I don't know where to find it.
I might. Yeah, I can figure. I don't know how to rip it.
Oh, nice.
I still have a copy because at that time I was friends with I was friends with the Folly guys, and then Paulson is a band we see a ton. I remember being a big deal because Paulson was in it for a minute, and they were going to play it on Fuse, on Steven's Untitled Rock Show, and being like, I think that was the first time in my life it was someone I knew was going to be on TV, and it was like the biggest fucking deal in the world. And then now it's funny, I look back at it now, like there's a bunch of people in that documentary who like, and now including you, who I've gotten to like talk to on this podcast. Like Jonah Baer was one of the commentators. That was way before he did the podcast, but that's how I first heard of him many years ago. So it is so funny how like it was funny even then. It was like being documented, like this like thing was happening,
right.
Like and at least from my knowledge, from the outside perspective, like I was in like the Connecticut scene, so we would like drive down to Jersey, or a lot of your bands would like kind of come up to where we were. It was just insane. Like just everything was coming out of there. And like I now live in Rhode Island, and I like know nothing about the music scene here because like in Connecticut we were like we'd never would even think to come this way. We're like, why would we go anywhere? Like we would drive past New York City to go to like Elkslogs in like New Jersey.
Yeah.
Just, what the fuck? That's
yeah.
crazy. It's just insane. It's so insane.
That's when good shows were.
The best ones. And then like I remember like meeting like for like then starting to people go on tour or stuff, and like having friends and being like, hey, there's not a basement scene out in Arizona. And like it sounds so stupid that as a kid, like because they don't have basements. Like it didn't really dawn on me how special that thing was that we had here. Like basement, I was like, oh yeah, of course they don't have basements in like New Mexico or whatever. And like I know Arben from Folly would always say the success he thought with Jersey was just small towns next to small towns, which I think there's probably something to that.
It definitely helped to grow the scene. I mean, and it wasn't, you would see the same faces at each show, but like, since like West Orange was so close to Wayne, or, even New Brunswick was only like, a 30 to 40 minute drive from where I grew up. So, you could go to the Melody Bar or to the Manville Elks Lodge within like a 45-minute drive. So it was pretty insular in that way, and it helped to grow it externally.
Yeah, what kind of were you ska kids at all? Were you ska fans?
I was, yeah.
Because like in Connecticut, it was I grew up in Meriden, but the town next to us is Wallingford, which is probably a little bit more known in our like DIY scene. But like Hatebreed was from our area, but they were like already off and gone to do their thing. And so like when I got involved in the scene in Connecticut, our version of the scene, it was like the earlier days was very ska, and then there'd be punk, and then hardcore, and then as things kind of went on, it turned very machismo, like hardcore. Like by the end of my time in the Connecticut scene, I would find myself spending more time going to shows in Jersey because Connecticut just turned into like it was barely even a concert. It would just be a bunch of bands that sound exactly the same, and a fight would break out, and then someone would get like cops would come, and some terrible shit. It was all
that happened in Jersey too a lot. But
yeah. A lot of the people that I would assume I won't be a shithead today. But yeah, a lot of, I don't know, like it sounds so lame. I don't want to be like, they weren't here for the music or whatever, but like it did change where people were just coming to fight and not actually see a show. There
was actually this article I just saw, not to go too off topic, but there was this guy, I'm not going to name names, but there was this guy in the scene here. It was the hardcore scene, and he was always the one like beating people up, having them get kicked out because he was friends with the bouncers. And, he was just known as like a horrible person around the scene. And literally in Brooklyn Vegan the other day, 2 or 3 days ago, saw an article where he helped some African-American woman on the side of the road and basically sped down the road to go get her like gas, and came back and she was like, why did you do that so fast? She's like, well, because I didn't want cops pulling over and messing with you. And like, so this was this huge guy that had, and she even said the same thing. Like, she expected him to just be a total jerk off, which he was back in the day. So, but it's good to see that he's changed.
Yeah, that's I guess that's one of the fun things about Facebook, and like I'm sure we'll connect with this. I've been getting really into that podcast. This was the scene.
Yeah.
So like even though I'm not from Jersey, I was listening to your older episode on it today to like kind of prepare, and I was like, oh, yeah, it's funny to see that. Like there was someone actually that made me think of you have Chris Gether doing a song on yours, and I listened to his episode.
Yeah.
Of that.
Yeah.
And like I wasn't that intricate in the New Jersey scene to know his whole story of his like trolling and stuff like that. But it was just so funny that like even like people in your scene in Jersey became like famous comedians, you know, not even like I have so many comedy friends who love Chris Gethard and have no clue if he knows what no idea what punk rock is, you know?
Yeah, I remember him at shows, but like it took me a while to kind of recall him. But yeah, there's been a few guys that didn't go the course of music, but you know, got fame or success in some way. But yeah, Chris is doing he wanted to do a song and he's going to do a Weston song. And then I guess I can kind of go down the song list with you just to kind of let you more in on what we got going on. So, you know, as we've already released 4 songs as of this recording, Heath being the last one, which was the Bigwig Flavor Ice cover. This week coming up will be Alf Bartone from X Number 5 and The Fire Still Burns. He's covering a song by Lifetime. And then we have, you know, like we were talking about, Folly doing Mohawk Barbie, which is actually, it morphs into another song too, but that I'll leave that to be a surprise. We also have from you mentioned Paulson before. We actually have two guys from Paulson. Logan's going to be doing one song, and then Alex, the bassist, is also helping out on another song, which is actually Mikey Erg doing Punk Rock Academy by Adam and His Package.
Yeah, that blew my mind. Alex is the guy in Paulson I knew the best. Like I booked them at my college. Like it's been a long time, but I love those cats.
Yeah, no, they really were. They're really great guys and a great band. Yeah, and as you were saying, you know, we have like so many different types of you know, artists from you know, from the ska scene, from the hardcore scene, from the punk scene, from the emo scene. One thing I'm excited to get together and actually Heath is also going to be, or he already has recorded another song called from OCG, which is One Cool Guy. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
Yes, because they turned it into Catch or Streetlight.
A few of those guys went to Streetlight.
Yes, okay, that's what it was. Yeah, I talked to Pete.
Pete, yeah, right.
Player.
Yeah,
who,
so
ironically, not involved in the ska or punk or hardcore music scene at all.
Right.
Kind of accidentally backwards landed into the strangest band in the world that everyone all over the world loves.
Yeah, well, so I have, let me see, 1, 2, 3. I have 5 of the members of OCG doing a few different songs. So, and then Heath recorded his own One Cool Guy's version with Jay Foley from Day 19.
Hey, you can hear us all right? Yeah, I'm sure you both have this experience too. Like, it's such a wild ride. Like, at least for like me, like as like the host. Like, I mean, I've paid money to see you play music before, at least in Midtown and Senses Fail. So it's the best part about doing a podcast. Like all these years later, you like get to like then talk to the people. Like kind of it's like those full circle moments. It's so great. And I think what you're doing, the Jersey music and exchange, like it's not. It just brings out nostalgia. It brings out creativity, and it just like brings you back to that thing. And it's fucking great. I love it.
I'm psyched that so many people are just as psyched as I am. So that's, you know, it really kind of was, you know, just an idea to take people's minds off of what was going on, you know, with the quarantine and with just even behind closed doors, like, you know, having to deal with whatever you're going through. So if you could take,
I'm a healthcare worker. Like I actually literally, I actually had to get tested for Corona today. I don't have it, but there was a period of today where this almost had to get canceled. I was like, all right, in 30 minutes, my 2 weeks, my future of my week is going to be very different.
Right.
Totally having something to throw some energy into something else has been so fucking helpful. And also like reconnecting with people or people like you knew from afar or maybe you didn't talk to. You know, that shit is, you know. Like we're all like, you know, I'm a dad, so just a boring life. So it's fun to have a chance to get to talk with people that you like used to get to would have it's very like, and some likelihood we probably have all been in the same room without ever realizing it.
I'm sure, yeah.
Most likely.
Yeah.
I mean, Heath and I, you know, we've been off and on talking on Facebook for a long time, but this is the first time probably in a long time we've continually worked on something together or talked together, you know. So it's brought us back together too, I think, you know.
Yeah, what is it about adulthood? Like you have to. Oh, sorry about that. What were you saying?
I was just saying I've been checking in with Chris every couple of days.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that great?
I was done with Bigwig song. I sent him the One Cool Guy song, and I was like, I'm bored. I want to do something else. So it's like, Chris, do you need any help with anything? Is there anything I can like program or like add guitar to or anything? So, and he threw me another assignment. So that helped out for a couple days.
I feel like a teacher or a proctor or something.
Yeah, what is it about adulthood? Like if you don't like have a project, you just won't ever see your friends again. Like if like I don't have something that's like kind of work, you know, it's work, but it's fun. Like a band or like this, it's like it's never gonna happen.
And it actually it's brought me I don't know, I feel like I've learned a lot just from the process, because I didn't know anything about recording really besides going into GarageBand, and even with our mixer Ryan, who's like made these sound like amazing. Like he's taught me just so much, and Heath too, just taught me so much about how to make something sound good. So that's definitely both of them have upped the production value of a home. Everybody's recording from home on this, so it's like you could record into your iPhone mic, and
yeah, home recording is just like skyrocketing. It was so funny when this first thing happened and you're watching like the like Tonight Show or any of that stuff, and it looked like YouTube. I'm like, how can I make this shit on my phone look great? And you have NBC Universal $1 billion, and Jimmy Fallon can't like get it. There was like a good month where it just took all these companies to like figure it out. I'm like, I've been doing this in my bedroom.
Right.
$200, I think you could figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
So Heath, one thing I want to ask you is like, so from what I like the research I was doing, whatever, it looked like Midtown seemed like kind of fucking pop off real fast. So that like must have been quite the experience for you. So like it looks like you did like you went a straight roll in Midtown and then went to Senses Fail, and then became like it's now with all these years later looking back, it must be so. And I saw Midtown did do like you guys did a reunion at the Skate and Surf, but that's not even what's it called now? Is it called Bamboozle?
Well, it was called Skate and Surf when we played it. It started as Skate and Surf, and then they changed the name to Bamboozle, and then Bamboozle kind of ran its course at the Meadowlands, and they wanted to bring it back to Asbury Park. And that's when they changed the name back to Skate and Surf. So we played, I guess, the first of the new Skate and Surfs. I don't know if they do them anymore. I think they did them for a couple of years, and then they started doing like Stone Pony summer stage shows.
Nice.
That kind of replaced the Skate and Surf down there. But yeah, Midtown started in late '98. We started playing shows early '99. Went on tour summer of '99 and just kept going until we dissolved and exploded in the spring of 2005. And then in fall of 2005, so I had about 4 months where I did not know what I was going to do with my life. It was a really bad summer. And then I got a phone call from the guys at Senses Fail. They got rid of their guitar player. They mutually parted ways, and they needed someone in 2 weeks to record 3 songs with them for an MTV Live appearance. So I knew them from touring with them. I was friendly with the guys. We all got along when we were on tour together. They gave me a call and they said, "Hey, can you learn these 3 songs?" I said, "Yeah, what's it for?" And they told me it's for a live thing on MTV. I said, "That's great." I was like, "What's going on with your band? What are you guys doing soon?" And they're like, "Well, we have a tour coming up in 3 weeks or 4 weeks." And I'm no dummy. So I bought their records and I learned every song that weekend. And then I went to practice on Monday. We played through the 3 songs. And they're like, "Okay, cool. You know the songs." I'm like, "I know all the songs." And they're like, "All right, well, let's try another one." So we just played a bunch. I think we played like 6 to 8 songs. And, I didn't know if they were going to, ask anyone else to come in and audition. But I definitely wanted the gig. So I learned everything. And we did the MTV Live show. We went on tour, and then we started writing the next record. So it just kind of flowed into me being more absorbed within the band. And then it started to feel right. And then we recorded the record, and I was in the band for 2 records. Did a whole bunch of touring with those guys. Great dudes. I still talk to them all the time. I just spoke to Buddy yesterday.
Oh, nice.
You know, and I just heard from Garrett, the other guitar player who's in the band with me in Senses Fail. He's actually moving to about 10 minutes from me pretty soon, so that's pretty cool. Not sure if we're gonna get the band back together, but maybe I'll take a drunken Uber over there and we'll like play some guitar minis together or something at some point. But then after Senses Fail, you know, I turned 30, and I was like, you know what, I got to figure out what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. I didn't think that I'd be able to play guitar in a band for much longer. So I decided I had to learn how to do something. I got a job at an electrical contractor, and they put me through school. I did my apprenticeship. I did about 4 or 5 years of school through that. Came out as a journeyman. Was a journeyman for about 1.5 years and became a foreman. Started running jobs in the field, and now for the past almost 3 years, I've been out of the field as a project manager. You know, running jobs from the office in the field, not work, but you know, the other side of it now.
That's awesome. That's like the way to do it, right? You start get that
the American dream.
That's now. Do a lot of people in your field have any idea what you're talking about when you talk about Midtown or Senses Fail or any of that stuff?
So I worked with this guy named Kevin Grella. Kevin is at times my biggest supporter, and at other times he wants to kill me. So I worked with him very closely when I first started, and I didn't know anything when I came into the trade, and he knew everything. He'd been doing it for 20 years. He knew the next step, 10 steps ahead of where we were, and I wasn't able to function. So putting the two of us together was very difficult for both of us. We were doing a project at Target's overnight. We were trying to figure out how to do 2 nights worth of work in one night. We figured it out after the second night, but it was a very tense time. It was nonstop work. You get in, there was not a wasted movement. We stopped for about 4 minutes to eat a sandwich at 2 o'clock in the morning, and that was it. But one night we're in Target, and he's like, "Let me see if they have your CD here." I'm like, "Yeah, they do have my CD." I'm like, "Look in the S's, it's right there. They have a bunch of copies." He's like, "No way, this is your CD." I'm like, "Yeah." And the guy who was in there with us, who was kind of our chaperone, was like, "Oh, I love that band. They're great." And he's like, "You love that band? This is the guitar player." And he looks at me, and the kid looked at me, and he was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe it." I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. Thanks for listening to the band." Kevin's like, "No, he told you to say that, right?" And the kid's like, No, I really do listen to the band." He's like, "Look, it's on my phone." And Kevin couldn't believe it. So from then on, I got a little bit more respect from Kevin. And now, anytime we're in the office, he's in the office as well. Anytime we're in the office together and someone new comes in, he puts on YouTube videos of Midtown live shows from 2003, 2004, just to embarrass me. So that's awesome. Kind of spill over from music to current work.
I saw you're breaking up.
The 2014 that we played, and they couldn't believe it. It's a part of. Oh no!
Hey, so you're I think you're the first person I'm talking to. I'm trying to look back, but like I was huge like into drive-thru records. Like I had the DVDs, I had all that shit. And so like what was that experience of being in drive-thru at that time? Of like I've heard pretty good thing that at one point I was in conversation. Richard was going to do this podcast at one point, and then one of those things never happened. But he is like, you know, looking back years later, like we talked about Victory in the beginning, like no one generally has a positive thing to say about Victory records. But for the most part, drive-thru seemed to have kind of, from reputation, it seems like Richard and Stephanie were like all around good people and actually loved music and treated bands pretty well. Was that your experience as well?
Yeah, they were, before anything, they were huge music fans. So they really loved the bands they listened to, they loved. They didn't just like them. They would be the crazy people that would wait at the hotel for Simon Le Bon to come out of his hotel and get like some sort of random thing signed. They would be at every show. And they did really great things for us when we were coming up. No one had any money. We didn't make any money from being in the band. They didn't have much money from running a label. But when we were out there recording Save the World, Lose the Girl, they let us stay at their house. We slept on their floor. Yeah, we slept on their floor for like 2 or 3 months when we were making that record. They were really good to us. And, some business things got in the way of our friendship over the years. But I think, that's what it was. It was a business. They were protecting their investments and their side of the business, and we were trying to build ours. So we had some clashes, but I think overall it ended fine. And I've seen them since, and everything has been great. But they had a real stranglehold on the market for a while. They signed Newfound Glory, who absolutely exploded and took over at the perfect time. And they did very well. They also had a bunch of other bands. They had Something Corporate, who has been huge. They signed Finch. They had Senses Fail. They had a lot of great bands. So I can't say anything bad about drive-thru at all. They really did care about the bands that were on their label.
Remember they had that huge legal, was it Geffen stole Newfound Glory for them, and then Newfound Glory eventually went back. How interesting, man. Not only were you in a band that blew up in that certain era, you're also that's an industry of a bygone relic. You were playing music, maybe I might have the time frame wrong, but this is post Napster probably, right? Or pre Napster?
We started our band pre Napster, I think, but on our first couple tours, we would show up to places in Champaign, Illinois, and we had no idea how anyone there knew us. It turned out they knew us from Napster. So that helped us out immensely in the very beginning. All the file sharing, all the downloading. Yeah. It really helped out. It gave us the ability, because, we didn't have records in record stores yet. We didn't really have any music out. We had an EP, but it was on the internet, and people could download it anywhere they wanted.
I mean, you got to be in the music industry at a whole shift for there's entire gigantic labels that don't even exist anymore from that time frame. I think, is Geffen still around? Or
I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah, I mean at the time that was everything, and Midtown got bumped. You guys went all the way up to was it Columbia? Did I have that right?
We eventually did get to Columbia, but not through drive-thru. So we put out the first EP on Pinball. Then we went to drive-thru for Save the World, Lose the Girl. Living Well is the Best Revenge was on MCA drive-thru. And then we got dropped from MCA drive-thru. And then we had to start over. And at that point, we decided to record the album with Butch Walker and pitch it to labels. And that's when we got signed to Columbia by Matt Pinfield.
I'm sorry, Matt from MTV?
Yep, the Matt Pinfield.
He just came up the other day.
Jersey Treasure.
Yeah, I listened to him on podcasts and stuff. I was doing a podcast the other night with a music journalist, and somehow he came up, and we just spent an hour talking about the nostalgia of the MTV news era. There was that period where VH1 and MTV were really, really good for their journalism stuff. They had Behind the Music and Biorhythm and 120 Minutes. Pinfield is the man. That's so fucking crazy. Were you part of the big record label of that era, of that golden era, where they were just blowing money and stuff, or you getting to that point where they're the writing was on the wall, so they weren't here's a $10,000 dinner or any of that kind of crazy stuff?
We didn't have any dinners or petting zoos with giraffes or anything crazy like that. No one gave me a $90,000 painting, but we did have a couple nice sushi dinners here and there. We definitely had people who worked for the label that would come to see us in different states who did things with their corporate card that were illegal. And I'll leave it at that, but it was a very good time. But yeah, we didn't really last too long on Columbia either. It was kind of a shame. We put the record out, had a very strong first week. They put a song to radio. They're like, this is going to be the hit. They put it out to radio, and then I think 2 weeks later they dropped us, or told us they were going to drop us. No, they didn't drop us, because if they dropped us, they would have had to give us money. what they did was they just stopped investing any money into us and cut our tour support and promotion.
Yep, that sounds about right.
Yeah,
Anyone I've
it
ever
is.
talked to, anyone I know who's had any experience on a major label has pretty much had that, pretty much the same experience. You know, it's just so weird. Yeah, it's so funny how they do that. Or like, I think you must know Jeff Garlock, who played in Orchid.
Not personally, no.
Yeah, I think he interviewed him once. I think at one point he like worked at a record label, and he was just telling me like the expenses that like just the absurdity of money they would spend. Like, I think he was like thousands of dollars in Fat Camp for Boys to Men, and then like label signing bands like you guys, and then be like, nope, just burning money. It's crazy. So what was that? I mean, I'm always curious about those things because like now you can look back at it, you know, with some clarity. You know, things are many years later, but at that time, like that must have been like one of the, like that's like it sounds like a dream come true in a way, like to get like that, you know, just to be like get in a band and make it and get and do all that stuff.
Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, being 21 years old and going out to LA to make a record, sleeping on your friends' floors, waking up every day, going to the studio where someone's paying you to go play guitar. It's incredible. It was great. I didn't have a dime. You know, I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't go to a bar and get a drink. You know,
so weird.
But I was playing guitar every day and someone was paying for it. So I was having a good time. And then even with touring, you know, when we first started touring, we didn't have any money. We didn't make any money. We had a shitty 15-year-old conversion van that was always threatening to break down on us. But it always happened to make it to the next parking lot so we could fall asleep for a couple hours before continuing on.
Now, do either of you have kids by chance?
Yeah.
Yep.
Here, would you now, like, just looking back, be like, I can't believe my parents let me do that. I could, like, I don't know, you like, there's this sort of stories you hear kids who are like, yeah, I was on tour at like 15, which my parents, that would never happen. And now being a dad, being like, yeah, okay, never happening. I would never at that age.
Yeah, I kind of have mixed feelings about it. For me, I was done with college. I realized it was something that I wasn't interested in doing. I did a year and then a couple months, and then I just stopped going to classes. So I didn't really want to learn how to do anything at that point. I had this really great opportunity to see the world and play music and tour, which was something that was super rare. So my dad, who I lived with at the time, he was really cool about it. He said, you have this great opportunity, go do it, take it as far as you can go. And then, you know, when you want to come home, come home. And I think that if my kids had the same opportunity, I would say go as well. I would let them. I learned so much doing that. I mean, I can't think of a better way to spend my 20s than the way that I did. So.
How many states have you been to? Did you get to do all of them?
I've been through all of them. I haven't been, well, actually, no, I haven't been to Alaska or Hawaii. I've played in every other state. And, you know, we did extensive overseas touring too. We played a bunch of shows in Japan. We did European tours, UK tour. I mean, especially with Senses Fail too. You know, we did a lot of overseas stuff with them.
It's funny because like when I growing up in Connecticut before you were in Senses Fail, there was a period where Senses Fail, I actually always had been a fan. I was a fan from their first album, and at least in the they just like for whatever reason there was a period where they were the band that was just shit on by everybody. Like specifically in Connecticut, there was like this story that got way overblown, but I think it was their first out of state show they played was in Connecticut, and nobody was there. It was one of those things like it all went to shit, and there was like literally like dead cats. Like it was like I don't know what time. I think it was in Kensington, and like I think they like rightfully so might have complained about it in AP. So of course you know how scene politics were back then, and for all the trash talk, and like now all these years later they are still one of all the people I know who were talking trash about Senses Fail in those early days, completely gone from the music scene, and Senses Fail to this day is still a band and a good one, and just would continue to put out great records. And actually, I think some of their best work is that Still Searching. I think is my favorite, which the ones that you were on were some of the best records.
Thanks. They've gone on to make incredible records. I think Buddy's making 3 records right now at home. So
Yeah,
staying pretty busy.
Yeah, a couple of my producers, like that's like when we were all like meeting, and I started building like a little team to start building this up recently. And the two of the producers I met, like in our first conversations, like with Will, somehow he drops. I was like, oh, that's not. I thought. So I was like, oh, Senses Fail, and just he like lost his mind for like 20 minutes, like how it's like his favorite band. I was like, all right, yeah, one of these days we'll get Buddy on here. Well, that's so it's funny, just so great to see that band just to go on and mean so much to so many people and be so fucking good. You know, you guys put out some good albums, and you know, like, I love a lot of bands, but I don't say like I've definitely never been like an album. Like I there's a lot of bands I love, but I don't know if I listen to like a whole album. But Senses Fail is one of the few bands. There's at least 3 full albums theirs I will can like that. Still Searching, Let It Unfold You will just like go right through like song every track like cut me in.
Awesome. Thank you.
I have if I could find it, I still have like a drive-thru records. Remember the day that like in the earlier days where they would make like DVDs with just music videos on them, like a little like. You know, internet was a thing, but YouTube didn't exist yet. And I have one, and there's a bonus footage of Senses Fail playing at a roller rink somewhere in New Jersey. And I think it was like right before they were. I have like a handful of DVDs.
It's probably Skater's World, right?
It could be. I don't know. It's like it's a bonus footage on the DVD, and they play Steve.
Eatontown also. I think Eatontown had a
town, right?
Skater's World might have been gone by the time they came around. So I think that Skater's World turned into an Office Max around the early 2000s.
What
True, yeah.
What was like what were your venues like growing up, or were you like where I was like the now looking back, our famous one would be like the Wallingford Nights at Columbus, or like the Am, like, you know, they're never real venues, but like New Jersey, like, so I'm not from New Jersey, I've never been there, but I know way too much about like the Wayne Firehouse and the Manville Elks Lodge, because it's like they've become like legends within our little community. What were yours when you guys were growing up music wise?
I guess, well, there was the Milburn Church. That was a big one that kind of was like just a fireball of everything, you know, every band would play there. Yeah, West Orange American Legion, Milburn Church. I guess, yeah, Wayne Firehouse, obviously. I'm not sure. That was in the general vicinity for me. There was the M&M Hall down in Old Bridge. What about you, Heath? I don't remember what was out near you.
I lived in Somerville, so the Manville Elks Lodge was just, you know,
right, Manville, yeah.
Maybe a mile and a half from my house. That's where I saw my first real local show.
Do you remember who was on it?
Oh yeah, I remember every band on it. It was Nowhere Fast opened up before I was in the band. Bigwig played. Tom had some sort of nasty infection. He was like almost was it meningitis that he had when he played that show? He was like sweating. I don't know how he did it. But he was very ill during that show. He made it through, and then it was Less Than Jake and Weston. So that was a pretty good show to be the first, first show. But it also shows that I was a pretty late comer to the whole scene. I mean, by the time I got involved, Joystick was almost done playing shows. I only saw maybe 3 Joystick shows.
Joystick was actually the first local show I ever went to. It happened to randomly be their first show ever. And then
that's awesome.
It was just really weird because we became really good friends, not from that show, just separately. But yeah, but actually fact about Manville Elks Lodge was before even like Bomb Shelter or anybody did shows there was Benny Horowitz from Gaslight Anthem. He did all the shows at Manville Elks Lodge.
I was actually just about to ask you that. I actually interviewed him. He was on the show like a few episodes ago.
Yeah.
Super nice dude, and didn't talk about music at all. It was awesome. Really? It was just.
Did he talk about basketball? He talks about basketball a lot.
Yeah, he doesn't know. I don't know what happened, but it was like it just turned into like a therapy session for us. It was kind of funny.
Dude, yeah, he's got a really great podcast too.
Going Off Track.
Going Off Track, it's great.
Yeah. That's exactly.
I miss Jonah though. I wish Jonah Bayer would come back.
I know, because I got into that podcast a long, way before I was a few years of that time. It must have been like 5 or 6 years. I got really into it because like Jonah and Steven, and then I loved when Benny started to come on and like just like guest host. and then he just would just show up all the time. And then, you know, because that's a podcast. Because I love the Gaslight Anthem. They're great. But like, I didn't know. I knew his name, but I didn't know his personality, especially drummers. And then from that, and then I got so sad when that podcast ended. And then thankfully, I'm so happy that Benny brought it back. It's like really fucking rad of him. I think. Yeah, I was friendly with Jonah and Steven for a little bit. I think Jonah went to school, I think is what Benny said. Like, I think they said on the podcast. I think they had someone on going off track who like I think it was Frank. It was like some famous musician. I'm forgetting the name, but I think they like took their life, and they talked about it a little bit. And I think it really fucked up Jonah, and then he decided to change his career path and become like a social worker or something.
Oh wow!
I used to actually work with both of those guys, Steven and Jonah.
Where?
Really, I used to work at Fuse, like we're talking 2008, 2009.
Way to bury the lead.
Right. Well, I mean, it was not glamorous at all, but they're very nice guys. I like those guys.
Did you work on Steven's show?
No, I worked on a show. Actually, it's the reason I met Buddy Nielsen, actually, and we connected because I knew Heath. So, Buddy. So basically, I worked on this 6-month-long music discussion show called The Weekly Riff, and it was basically like Bill Maher but with Steven hosting, and like four guests discussing different, you know, it's like a panel show basically.
Yeah.
But Buddy used to be one of our guests, and a few other people from the scene too. That was actually really a weird job because it just brought so many different people together, and people that I knew and now are like, you know, really big. So, but that wasn't a successful show.
That's such a small world. Yeah, Steven was. I mean, he was my biggest influence, like hosting influence, and fucking super nice, really nice guy. We did a podcast like 5 years ago. He was on the show like 5 years ago, and still like every like once a year we'll email like just class act. Like, just nice.
Very very cool guy.
Love that guy.
I think you see that a lot from like the scene, right? Like for like outside of all the other bad stuff, like most of the people my friends, our group of friends, we were really into Folly. Like we saw them a ton, and then it just the way it worked out, like that became like our band, and then one of my closest friends from high school is married to Jeff, and now like, you know, we spent our 20s going to you know, sweating and doing all that bad, crazy, stupid shit. And now, like, when we get together, like, we just watch our little girls run around together and dance and play. Like,
right.
It's so sweet. I just love, like, it's so full circle like that. I think that's so great. Sorry about that. Now, do you guys have any like memorable, any good memorable shows about seeing or playing? I was like looking. It's funny to type your name into like online, like some of the stages like Midtown and Senses Fail had played. Were both of those bands, either of those, like bigger overseas? Like when I was growing up, my cousin Sarah was in a band called Unwound, which was like never really, you know, not really a lot of people knew who they were, but like it was like nothing. But then they could make a living because they could like do really well in Japan and stuff. And I know Houston Calls seemed to have that too from the outward appearance. Like they didn't do great in the States, but they would like do like sold out record shows at like Tokyo and Tokyo and shit. Did that happen to you guys for Midtown or Senses Fail ever?
We played a bunch of big sold out shows in Japan. We had people waiting for us at the airport in Japan, giving us gifts. People waiting at the hotel. It was kind of awesome. It was strange, but it was awesome. And you know, Senses Fail did a lot of big tours overseas too. We did, the Taste of Chaos International tour in 2006, where we went to Australia, New Zealand, Japan. We went all over Europe on that. I'd say probably my most memorable show overseas was there was a show in Australia we played on the Taste Chaos tour where we were walking out to go do a signing, and out of nowhere this kid just runs up to me and kicks me in the balls.
What?
And I was not expecting it at all. Just hauls off and just kicks me as hard as he could, and I went down. I went down and I got up and I'm like, what the hell did you do that for? Like, why did you do that? I looked at him, he was like a 15 or 16-year-old kid, so I can't hit him. And he hauled off and kicked me in the balls. And I'm like, what was that about? And he said he just wanted to meet Buddy. So he kicked me in the balls to get Buddy's attention.
I mean, that's terrible, but
yeah,
there's a part of me that kind of laughs a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm laughing at it too now.
Is it nerve-wracking playing like big show? Like, is there a level of crowd where it just doesn't matter after, like, you can't see any farther?
Yeah, as long as the lights are off, everything's fine.
Yeah.
You know, when the lights are on, we opened for Blink. Midtown opened for Blink, and we were the first of 3. And we would play a lot of times as people were coming in, and we were so grateful to be on that tour. There's a lot of it. Heath was incredible. Newfound Glory was on the rise. It was just like a really great tour. But we would play as people were walking in. So, I mean, that was a little harder. It was a little harder to play when like no one's paying attention to what you're doing. So when you have a place that's packed and people are looking at you and they're excited, that's the best feeling in the world. There's nothing like, you could be having a terrible day. You could feel like you don't want to do anything. You just want to lay in your bunk. But when you get out there and there are people who are excited to see you play, it turns everything around.
Now, I'm trying to how to word this. So many things in life are so unpredictable. Did you ever predict that there'd be an experience that you would tour with Blink-182? And I'm sure, I'm going to hopefully guess at some point Tom DeLonge was talking your ear off about aliens. And it turned out that he actually might be right. So there you go, world. Yeah. I bet you never thought we'd be sitting here one day talking like, I used to know that guy and I thought he was insane. And maybe it's closer to being true than it ever has been. If anyone else is following the declassified stuff from the Pentagon.
You may be right. Who knows? But back then, it was just fun to talk to him about the Descendants.
Yeah. Is Mark as cool and as nice of a human being? Like, I still think that he might be one of the more underrated people of our scene. Like, if anyone cracked the code. Did he have a show on Fuse at one point? Was it Hop on Pop? He was actually the first podcast I ever listened to, which I think it left and came back. But I love that dude. But he had a show on Fuse too, right? Hop on Pop, is that right?
He did something on Fuse, yeah.
I don't remember. Yeah, like he seems to be like the guy who seemed to crack the code, like who like blew up in the pop punk world and then kind of was able to become like a host internet person or pre-internet, like an internet personality. But is he? Did your kids old enough to like any of the music that you could be like, I used to play with them or Daddy used to know them, or they're just like whatever?
My kids?
Or yeah.
They don't give a shit. Yeah, they don't care. They don't think it's cool at all.
That sounds all right.
No, they're too young. They're like, Dad, why do you always play guitar? You're not good at it. And I'm like, you're right. It's just fun for me. And they tell me that it's too loud. It's kind of cool that my kids are telling me that my music is too loud. But my daughter really doesn't like my music at all. My son is kind of drawn to it, but he doesn't like my bands. So he's actually been watching a lot of Ben 10 lately. Actually, Chris, you have a young son.
My son is also
Chris,
watching Ben 10.
So does he watch the YouTube videos of Ben 10 where there's like an intro? There's like this like new metal music set to the Ben 10 scenes from the show?
No, he just watches on Netflix, but I don't know if I would let him watch new metal or listen to new metal music.
Yeah, no, it's heartbreaking.
Right.
I'll come down in the morning sometimes and he'll be watching Ben 10, but like, I don't know, Stained or someone is like providing the soundtrack.
Right.
So he's gone that way. He's gone the AJ Soprano route, and I mean, yeah, that's right.
So like in 10 years, you're going to see some ducks fly out of your pool and you're going to have a panic attack and it's going to really just set you on a path.
Right.
And we're sitting in the kitchen with some gabagool and just start crying.
And pass it. So what is Ben 10? I actually have not heard of that.
So Ben has a watch it's called the Omnitrix, and there are different aliens in that watch. He sets the watch, and then he hits the watch, and he turns into the alien. It's a cartoon.
Okay.
It's pretty simple.
But and
Yeah.
you said there's new metal involved?
Yeah, people put together like montages from the show set to new metal music.
Oh.
Horrible.
What is your? I have an unpopular opinion that I kind of actually defend new metal a little bit because I think new metal brought a lot of people into our scene that don't want to admit to it. Because at least for myself and a lot of people I know, like the first band I didn't, most people's first band is never like anything good. Like it was my friends in high school were really into fuck Limp Bizkit and all that stuff. But there's a few I had some friends who were like really into Deftones. I think that was the first time I started listening to music with screaming, and then eventually found like punk rock and stuff. But there's some, I still think there's a few good new metal bands. I think a lot of it is garbage, obviously. But I'm curious, do you guys have any hot takes on new metal?
I don't think I wouldn't consider Deftones new metal as much. I think they could straddle, but no, I can't support any new metal. I was a radio DJ in college and had to go through a lot of new metal stuff, and I was just like, being a metalhead before that, it was just a bad turn in the road.
I'll still defend Head P's first album. I'm gonna throw it out there.
Can't.
And it would have done. And then even Limp Bizkit's first album was pretty good. I hated Korn. I mean, it's System of a Down new metal. I mean, they were all in that world when I was at that age. It was
Down.
System of a Down.
Oh, System of a Down. I thought we were talking about Down, Phil Anselmo's band.
No, down. I can fuck with.
Yeah, I get down with Down.
Yeah,
and Deftones as well. I can. The first two Deftones albums are great. I checked it out after that. I'm missing a lot, I'm sure, because everyone loves White Pony and a couple of things that came after it. But I got to say, I'm going to throw an unpopular opinion out there as well, which was that I did like Korn when they first came out. I did play a Korn song at a high school talent show. I'm not going to mention who else was in the band with me when we played that Korn song, because it would be a big blow to credibility.
Would their Starship not be taken off?
No, would have nothing to do with cover Starship. And I'll tell you what, I also like that first Limp Bizkit album when it came out.
$3 Billio?
I liked it. Yeah, I like that album.
I
liked it a lot.
Don't go back that often and listen to some of those bands, but
no.
there's a few. I think there's a few good new metal bands. And then
I do have a little story, a tangent. I remember going to the Warped Tour maybe 1999, 98.
98.
Was it 98?
It was 98.
With Limp Bizkit? Okay. But we were waiting. They had it was when the Warped Tour was still small enough that they had like the roll-in trailers for stages. So I remember waiting to watch Bigwig at the Asbury Park Warped Tour. And right next to them, on the trailer right next to them, was this guy, this hip-hop rock band with a guy with his red hat turned backwards. And I had never heard them before. I was just like, what is this bullshit? And it turned out to be Limp Bizkit.
I was there watching them.
You were there watching?
I was watching them.
Did you guys know each other at this time?
No,
I don't think so.
And we're just figuring this out now. That's fucking awesome.
Right. So yeah, and then Bigwig played right next to them, right after them.
Did one of the dudes from Bigwig become the drum tech for Ataris? Is that right?
Yeah, Matt Gray.
Matt,
yeah.
And Starting Line. He had a really long game.
Oh, shit. Starting Line, another band, too, that got a lot of shit, but I think they just got – and everything Kenny did solo, but even, I thought was it the last album, Islands, was, really good. They had a lot of growth. I feel like there's a lot of bands from our era of, that we're talking about that will get left out or so, some of it, some of it was a lot of the bands, I think there are some bands that got a lot of shit undeservingly that as time proved, specifically Senses Fail, really fucking solid musicianship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's funny. I'm just curious for both of you actually, if you do what I do, where I'll be like, yeah, I love this new band, the Front Bottoms, but they've been around for 10 years, but because I'm 35, so I don't keep up with music like I used to.
Yeah, this really good new band, the Menzingers, that I just heard of. They're doing.
I'm not even kidding. Yeah. Yep. I did
They've
that.
been
Like,
around for like 15 years. I had no idea.
Here,
They're a
Joyce
great
Manor,
band, but
all
I
that
just found out
stuff.
about it.
I'm always like, I think I learned about Loudest Few on their 10-year anniversary album, and I was like, yeah, that's pretty good.
It's kind of like I hate to say it, I just discovered the Ergs from New Jersey.
Same. About 2 or 3 years ago, I discovered the Ergs, and they're great.
Like, they're amazing. I literally discovered them like 5 months ago.
Wow.
And as soon as I heard them, I was like, yo, this band is like, you know, Descendants Reborn, but with like a different kind of New Jersey spin. And I said, I was like, I don't know anything about them, but I got to get Mikey Erg to sing on Jersey Interchange.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised to see him on there. He's like a legend in our world.
He's great. I love that guy. And those albums are so good.
What were there any bands that you both saw, like, you know, while going to shows or playing shows that became the biggest thing ever? Like, even without outer scene, like, do you have any of those like fun experience, like especially like radio shows? They always put a mishmash. Like, I remember I got to see like how was it? Maroon 5 opened for Brand New at a radio up in Connecticut, like stuff like that. I mean, I'm sure you must, especially if you're in Jersey. I'm gonna just guess if you throw a stone, you accidentally went to a My Chemical Romance show or something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There were a lot of those, a lot of early My Chemical Romance shows. Speaking of Maroon 5, when Midtown was on tour with Real Big Fish, Aaron had broken his arm, and they had this guy filling in for him on guitar named James Valentine. And then, like, cut a year and a half later, Maroon 5 is all over the radio and all over MTV, and we're like, oh my God, that's James.
That's so cool.
Huh.
Yeah.
You must have a billion of those stories, like when you look at TV or anything, of like, oh yeah, you still that guy, or we're still friends, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's strange.
I remember the show. You might have been there too, Heath. I think it was in Springfield. I think it was a Ricky show, actually. The show that Newfound Glory kind of got put on last minute, and it was the first show they kind of played in Jersey where people just took notice and were like, oh, I get it. This band is going to go somewhere. And then within the next like 6 months, they signed a drive-thru. They were huge, and I think they actually took Weston's place on that show. Was it Weston or someone else?
And then Weston became Beach Slang, the lead singer of West. Is it what he became?
Beach Slang, yeah.
Beach Slang, yeah. That fucking album was amazing.
I saw them live. They really impressed me.
Yeah, I interviewed JP, the drummer, on that round. And it was like, and I didn't know that their singer was in Weston, and he like said that like my jaw just dropped. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? That's fucking nuts. Wow. Let me kind of towards the end, start wrapping it up. Is there anything that we missed? Anything that we want to hit on before we start wrapping up? And if not, where can people like find you and all your projects online?
Heath, you want to start off?
So I have kind of a side gig with my friend Dave from Austin. We've been doing some acoustic cover songs online. Mostly stuff from the early 90s or late 90s, early 2000s within this punk realm. And you can find that on Instagram at Heath and Dave Sing. That's the only real music related thing that I'm doing outside of the Jersey Interchange with Christian.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then Christian, the Jersey Interchange, obviously.
Yeah, Jersey Interchange. We have a Facebook page. You can check us out. Which probably has the link to where all the songs are. That's facebook.com/Jersey Interchange. Other than that, I have nothing else going on in my life.
So like the rest of us, guys, Christian and Heath, I can't thank you enough for your time. This has been like, it's such a thrill. I'm sure you know that experience too. It's just, it's cool when that shit goes full circle, you know, like all those years, it's been a ton of fun. So I can't thank you enough.
Yeah,
And,
thank you.
If you
Thanks for having us.
Ran out of gas on that one.